Hello and welcome back to Yoga with Laura Ashland. Thank you for sharing this series with your friends and hitting that subscribe button down below. I'm enjoying bringing you these videos, and today's video is going to be about breath. Now, I have presented on YouTube channel 40 or more videos, and I haven't even discussed the breath yet, which is one of the three parts of this yoga practice. At some point, it becomes very important of the three parts of the practice. But I never entertained the breath yet because I wanted you to get comfortable on your mat, comfortable in your body, comfortable with how you're moving, how do you feel, what ranges you can achieve or not achieve. And so often when we get the breath involved with the movement right away, and then we tell the brain to kind of calm down, we feel we are performing or trying to achieve something. And I've always had the mind of let the breath come naturally. Yes, it's a very important part of the practice, but it shouldn't inhibit the practice. We're not moving naturally. We're not moving freely. We're not moving with our own rhythm of our inhale and exhale. So now that we've had several videos to practice with, I thought I would do a little bit of a tutorial on the breath work. Often we think that the breath is engineered by the nadis, your right and left nadi or nasal passage, the throat, the lung, and what really is the engineer of your breath. And this took time to discover because we're always breathing so high into the throat and high into the top third of the lung that the real engine of your breath is your diaphragm. So this becomes the heart and soul of breathing. The lungs are the container, both containers. The throat is a passageway. The nadis, or the nasal passages, are passageways to get this beautiful air that we breathe into our system. But if we didn't have the diaphragm working like an accordion, constantly contracting and expanding, we wouldn't have the breath work. Three of the nerves in your C1, 2, and 3, very top of the neck, help control how the diaphragm expands and contracts. Sometimes when you're breathing, you can even feel the stimulation in the neck, or maybe even the relaxation in the neck, upper neck, when the diaphragm is doing its part. That is controlled by these nerves in the back of the neck. That's why if there was ever a problem, you could always breathe with a machine because it bypasses this machine. So back to our diaphragmatic breathing. We're going to start very simply. I'm not going to give you the many different kinds of breathing. Today we'll maybe just do 2 kinds of breathing. So the one is deep diaphragmatic breathing, or 3-part belly breath, which is 1, 2, 3. So we work through an expanded diaphragm. The lungs are full. As I exhale and press the diaphragm in, then the lungs begin to contract. They expire out through the mouth, through the nasal passage, the CO2. That's how we detoxify our body. We are detoxifying our body 24/7 every time we exhale. So as we inhale and breathe, the nice oxygen and nitrogen, we're feeding all those cells. We're feeding the cells created by the making up the organs in the body and all the soft tissue. They receive that oxygen, and then they exchange that CO2 for the oxygen, and later on, CO2 comes out. And if you watch my hand, you can feel how expansive the diaphragm can get. I am inhaling through the nostrils we don't see. You can hear that sound and that hissing like wind in a pipe in the back of the throat. It expands out, but then as I exhale, the hand presses in, the diaphragm contracts, it feels like it's pressing to the spine. That's the image that it's coming back into the spine. And you can feel the lungs contract low, deep in the alveoli, which are the little branches of exchange. Often the upper lung alveoli, or bronchial area, bronchi, is overused because we tend to talk and breathe, and talk and breathe, and we're right here. So we want to go deep down into the base of these lobes that are affected by this. The abdomens drop in, the transverse abdomens come in tight, the rib cage, the intercostals come in tight, the diaphragm is pressing to the back spine. The lungs squeeze down and hold, and then the exchange is made. Out goes the CO2. As my diaphragm expands forward, it feels like I'm filling my lungs from the bottom of the lung lobe to the top, rather than pouring in the glass of water and filling in the lungs this way. On the exhale, it feels like I'm expiring the lungs from the bottom to the top. So your engine is your diaphragm. This is a wonderful, nice breath path to learn. It's also not up, down, up, down. So the throat is constricted, the shoulders lift, even my cheeks and my eyes and my eyebrows go higher. Everything lifts tension. With the diaphragmatic breathing, the breathing is out and back and very little shoulder movement and throat. In and out through the nasal passage. In through the nasal passage, out through the mouth. Whatever you do with your breathing, there's lots to explore, so be natural with your breath. Make sure that if it feels better for you to exhale, steam on the mirror, especially when you have a home practice. You're not disturbing anyone in a studio. If that feels good for you and that relaxes the muscles in the skull, down into the shoulder girdle and so on, then have that practice too. Let it go out through the mouth. If it seems to be a little quieter and you like it inhaling through the nostril, exhaling through the nostril, that's another wonderful way of practicing. So if you are a mouth breather, be a mouth breather. Eventually it will change and you become more of a nostril breather, or you play with both. One of the, I don't want to say a rule, because it's not a rule, but one of the things to follow with yoga is that if your body is raising off the ground, if my arms are coming up from earth to sky, that's usually an inhale. If the body is coming down toward the earth from sky to earth, that is usually an exhale. If my body elongates out to the side, that's an inhale. When I contract the body back in, that could be arms and legs, that is usually an exhale. You often don't want to bring in the body parts to two balloons that are inflated. You want to make sure that those balloons are deflated so there's space to bring the body in. Now I want to say that that was usually, and forget that I said rule, but it's like the English language. There's many, many exceptions to that rule. So it's, again, be very natural. Maybe there are times when we are coming down toward the earth, it happens to be an inhale. Play with that a little bit. Be natural with your breath. And our second breath today will just be what we call baby's breath. It's very simple. It is a sipping of the breath, inhale in, and like a crying baby, and then you can exhale out any pace you wish. Maybe it's flushing, maybe it's slow. So your exhale can be whatever you choose. So the baby's breath, almost the start of the Kundalini, kind of a little bit of the fire belly breath. Any amount. That path can be yours. But it sounds as if a child is weeping or holding back emotions. And then that could be 3 to 7 counts. That could be longer, maybe quicker, like that. So sipping baby breath ignites, wakes up the diaphragm, wakes up the lungs, alerts, ignites, and then nice, steady flushing or exhaling. So those are our 2 breaths today. Really diaphragmatic breathing, starting from the belly, letting the engine do the work as you fill and unfill the lung. Expire, inspire, inspiration. Idea. Things are lifted, things come up. Maybe not too much with the muscles, maybe not too much lift here, but inspiration. Exhale, same amount. And then the baby's breath, the sipping. So those are 2 breaths for now. When you hear me doing the breathing and the work, often I'm sipping because I am speaking and giving guidance, and the breath is coming out in spurts, so I sip it back up again in order to fill the lung, and then maybe I'll strike a posture and then release into that posture with an exhale. One other thing about our breathing, the steady breath is what regulates the fluctuation of the mind, right? It's not a peak and valley of our thinking. It tends to have a nice, easy flow when we have the same amount of breath in and the same amount of breath out. That same amount can be whatever works for you comfortably, but to make it the same, often when we're talking, we take a big gulp of air, we load the lung, and then as we're exhaling, with the words, exhale the air. So we're exhaling and speaking out at the same time. So the exhale becomes twice as long as an inhale. We can actually control the exhale. We can stop it and start it fairly comfortably. It is the device that creates not only kind of a bringing into center feeling, but there's also a relaxation that happens with the exhale. So we can control how fast or slow our exhale can go. Often we don't control the inhale, it just happens. We load the lung, we fill up our engine here, so to speak, with the gas, which would be nitrogen and oxygen. And then down goes slowly, exhale, twice as long. So as you're practicing, pay attention to the inhale, that it starts quietly, slowly, thoughtfully, consciously. Begin your inhale. Take as much as you can, and then whatever that felt you, the pacing, the rhythm, the counting, that would be the exhale. Breath, very much a part of the practice, but if we overschool it, we overthink it, and we're not moving freely and naturally and truly ourselves on the mat. Just become aware of it. It will find you. Namaste.